We ask what if questions all the time, right? What if I miss my train? What if I actually get the job? It feels so natural, like we don't even think about it. But what's amazing is that behind these super simple questions, there's this really fascinating, complex logical engine running in our brains. So today, let's dive in and pull back the curtain on the hidden logic of our everyday what ifs. Okay, let's take a look at a classic. If it rains, will the game be canceled? I mean, you've probably asked something just like this. This is the perfect example of what we're going to break down today. It's called a conditional question. And yeah, it seems super simple on the surface, but there is so much cool stuff happening logically right under the hood. And that's really the key, isn't it? We use this structure for everything. I mean, we're constantly using it to plan things, to worry about what might go wrong, or even just to daydream. It's basically our brain's superpower, the ability to create these little temporary what-if universes just so we can peek inside and see what happens. All right, so to really get a grip on this, here's the plan. We'll start with our daily what-ifs, then we'll split them into their two halves. After that, we'll get into the big challenge they present, look at how we unlock their meaning, and finally, see why there's so much more than just words. Okay, first things first, let's get into the actual mechanics. See, every single one of these what-if questions, no matter how simple it sounds, is really built from two totally separate parts. So think of it like this. You've got two parts doing two different jobs. On one side, you have the conditional, the if part. This is the part that basically opens up a little mental sandbox. It says, hey, let's pretend for a second. Let's just suppose this thing is true. Then you've got the question itself, the will or the what. And that's the part that you play with inside the sandbox. You're not asking about reality anymore. You're asking a question that only makes sense inside that little what-if world you just built. And that right there, that's what brings us to the official definition. A conditional question is really just a question that's been planted inside a hypothetical scenario. Its whole reason for being is to figure out how that if, that little supposition, actually changes the answer you're looking for. Okay, so we know the two parts, right? An if and a what. Simple enough. But this is where it gets really interesting and a little tricky. Putting them together creates this amazing puzzle that linguists and logicians have been trying to solve for years. How exactly does the if part manage to change the entire meaning of the what part? So, what's the core challenge here? What's the big puzzle we need to solve? We've got a simple condition and we've got a simple question. But when they team up, they create something brand new. So, what is the secret sauce? How does that combination actually work? And here it is. The real challenge is figuring out precisely how that fusion of meaning happens. The if clause isn't just hanging out next to the question. No way. It actively grabs the question and reshapes it. It sets up a whole new context, a new set of rules for the game. And understanding that process, well, that's the heart of the whole thing. So, how in the world do we even begin to solve a puzzle like that? Well, luckily, some really smart people have come up with some incredible theories that act like blueprints for what's going on in our heads. Let's check out a couple of the big ones. Okay, one of the heavy hitters is a theory called dynamic semantics. And the big idea here is a total game changer. It says that the meaning of a sentence isn't just whether it's true or false. No, the meaning is its potential to change things. It sees language as an action. Every sentence you say is basically a tool you're using to update someone's understanding of the world. So here's how dynamic semantics says this all works, step by step. First, when you hear the if clause, your brain creates that hypothetical context. It pictures the rain. Then, it does a quick reality check. Okay, is this premise even possible? Could it actually rain? And if the answer is yes, it moves to step 3. It evaluates the question, but only inside that new rainy context. It's basically the official scientific model of how we play in that mental sandbox we mentioned earlier. Now, a more recent theory is called inquisitive semantics, and this one is custom built for this stuff. It's designed to handle not just facts, but the actual act of asking questions and making these what-if suppositions. So with this theory, a conversation isn't just about one person updating another. It's more like a collaborative game where we're all raising issues and then working together to figure them out. And look, these are just a couple of the ideas out there. The field is packed with different ways to think about this. Some people see questions as a way of slicing up all the possible ways the world could be. Others define a question by the complete set of its possible answers. It just goes to show you, this simple little thing we do every single day is a seriously deep and fascinating rabbit hole for researchers.
But pure cold logic is only half the picture. To really get what's going on, we have to pull the camera back a bit and look at how these questions actually work in the real world, in messy, everyday conversations.
And this is a really big deal, because why you're asking a what-if question is often way more important than its logical structure. Think about it. Are you asking because you're planning a strategy, or because you're feeling anxious? Or maybe you're just throwing a creative idea out there. That intention you have is a massive part of what the question actually means. And this is where things get super practical. Your goals completely change what the question is for. The context you're in is absolutely critical. I mean, some people even use game theory to analyze these conversations, treating each question like a strategic move in a game. And I gotta say, I love this last term, erotic search scenarios. It sounds complicated, but it's just a fancy and brilliant way of saying that we solve a huge what-if problem by breaking it down into a bunch of smaller, easier-to-answer questions. And this quote just nails the modern way of thinking about all this. Information exchange isn't just a simple download of data from one brain to another. It's a process. It's a dynamic game of raising issues, exploring them, and solving them. And a lot of the time, that whole game takes place inside those little temporary worlds we build with our what-ifs. So, if there's one big thing to take away from all this, it's this. The next time you casually ask a what-if question, just take a second and appreciate what's really happening under the hood. You're not just talking, you are performing an incredibly fast and sophisticated act of logical exploration. In a split second, you're building a world, you're testing its rules, and you're mapping out its possibilities. It's kind of amazing. When you get right down to it, this is one of the most powerful tools we have for dealing with a world that's full of uncertainty. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know a little more about the amazing logic powering it all, what supposition, what if are you going to explore next?